Now, here's a good one about a husband and father who plays the strategic waiting game, the long game, in terms of when he decided to divorce his wife to obviously benefit himself and his kids. And of course, because it's the guy doing this, he's the big giant villain. We know darn well if it was the other way around, she'd be the hero, be celebrated, and that'd be empowering and all that. Titled, Am I the a-hole for waiting to divorce my wife until it was a good time for me? He says, my ex-wife and I were married over 20 years and have 2 children together, a 22-year-old boy and 20-year-old girl. For most of my marriage, things were pretty balanced. We both shared housework and child care responsibilities. We were each stay-at-home parents for over a year after each child, her with our son and me with our son and daughter. We always had agreements on how we wanted to divide work and generally had decent communication. Okay. Sounds pretty good, but already I get the vibe they just were kind of like just business partners and roommates, and it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of love there. Now I get, obviously marriage is a business deal, don't be fooled, but usually at least there's some love in the beginning, or at least fake love. This changed when my oldest went to high school. My wife got a new job that was both very demanding on her time and was 50% travel. This meant that I had to handle everything about 2 weeks per month when she was home and she wasn't holding up her side of the work with agreements. I did my best to be accommodating and we worked through redistributing the chores and housework a few times to make it fit her schedule better, but a lot of the work just kept falling to me. Well, at this point, if you have children that are above a certain age, why aren't those kids doing chores? But even then, this is an unbalanced situation. I would say after a while, you know what, babe? This is not working out. This is unbalanced. You're gone all the time. Perhaps it's time to look for a different job that you are here more often. I realize you're getting more money here. That helps the family, but it's having an impact on our relationship and all that. And a reasonable, loving wife would at the very least sit down and brainstorm that if she cared about him. But no. When the pandemic happened, things got worse. But I tried to just suck it up because I knew the lockdowns were temporary. Finally, when things opened back up, things continued to decline, and I asked to go to counseling. She missed a lot of our meetings and just didn't commit to it. At this point, I decided that I wanted a divorce. Look, her actions showed that this guy is just a roommate. Just a guy to take care of the chores, pay the bills, nothing to her. And, a woman that truly loves you guys, and I've had women that truly love me, and I know because of how their actions were, they want to communicate with you. They want to make things work. And if they know their guy is unhappy and he could leave, believe me, they're going to try to make an effort, whatever that may be. If she put on weight, she's going to lose the weight. If she's been a pain in the ass, been kind of bitchy, moody lately, she's going to get an attitude adjustment real quick. If he wants to do counseling, she's going to do counseling because she loves you and she cares. Everybody can have bad days and stuff like that, but when she really feels like you're out of there, this is why it's important for women to know that if she crosses you and pushes you too far, you're going to go. But no, none of that. So I don't blame this guy for saying, you know what, life's too short. Unfortunately, it was a rough time for my family. My son was getting ready to go for college in person after his freshman year became remote, which is both financial and logistical challenge. At the same time, my daughter was also having some issues with depression, and I had become her main support person with my wife gone half the time. I made a decision to wait until my daughter was in better mental state and our family was in a financially stable place before I filed divorce. I did my best to continue to contribute and was essentially a single parent for 3 years. So I'm going to guess this dude wasn't getting much during that time period, okay? There's probably very little to none of the SCX. Well, newsflash, if the wife ain't getting it from home, she's getting it someplace else. She's gone half the time. Her actions have communicated that she sees this guy nothing more than a roommate to wash the fucking dishes and pay the bills and raise the kids. On a few occasions, I brought up counseling again, but my wife again said things were good and wouldn't go. Yeah, things are good for her because she's getting Chad and Tyrone dick when she's traveling for business and has this guy home paying the bill. Why would she want to change anything? We pretty much didn't have SCX for that period of time, and there was one summer where she essentially moved to North Carolina for 6 weeks of work, and she came home on some weekends. What did I tell you about the lack of SCX? And she went away for 6 weeks. I might add, doesn't seem like she seems too bothered to be away from her kids. Really. Last year, after my daughter started sophomore year of college and she was in a better place mentally and emotionally, I sold off some of my stock investments to create a trust for my kids to ensure college was covered for them when I filed for divorce. At first, my wife was really pissed off, and then she left to live in North Carolina again. The fucking nerve of her getting pissed off. It's like, gee, you couldn't see this coming? No, she just didn't want to lose her perfect arrangement. When she came back 4 weeks later, she said she wanted to work it through. But I told her I made my decision to leave years ago and wasn't interested. I wouldn't have told her years ago. There's no need to give that information that can come back to bite you in the ass. But yeah, interesting she wants to work things after being gone for 4 weeks. Probably the guy that she really liked, she probably wanted to see if there's a future there, and he's probably like, no, I just want to bang you, honey. We eventually worked through mediation and got an amicable divorce. Really? Amicable? My kids live with me now and support me, but all my in-laws and even most of my family outside my sister think I'm an a-hole. That's probably because you probably didn't control the narrative. Of course they think you're the a-hole. You're the one trying to work things out and counseling and all that. Nope. She didn't want to do it. They believe I should have forced the issue more when we started counseling and either divorced or made it clear to my wife how important counseling was to me. I think you did make it clear to her, but clearly her telling of this story made it to be that you didn't care. But I told you should have told her that you were planning on divorcing her years ago, but you were waiting for the right time. That was a mistake. They called me selfish, and some of my in-laws are refusing to interact with my kids when they're at my house. Are you fucking kidding me? They're punishing their grandkids or the nieces and nephews because of you? Fuck them. But your kids are adults now. They're seeing their true colors. For example, my daughter FaceTimed her grandma once this summer, and she hung up when she saw my daughter was in my house. Your poor kids. These people, I mean, what is that? Your wife's side of the fucking family. And he says even his own family's giving him shit. I tell them to shove it up their asses. But situations like this, guys, tells you who has your back, who's on your team. They also create a bit of a scene at my son's graduation in the spring, refusing to acknowledge me and demanding that my son choose to celebrate with them or me rather than having dinner together as a group. They came and behaved one day on his graduation for them. I mean, for your son. What a bunch of selfish a-holes. I encouraged my son to go with them, and we had our own celebration later. But something happened at the dinner, and my son has lived with me and been almost no contact with them ever since. Well, good for him. I mean, I'm sorry it happened to him, but good. They probably gave him a lot of crap, talked a lot of crap about this guy here telling the story. They probably said, you're not going to have a relationship with us unless you cut your dad off. He probably told them to go shove up their asses again. Hey, this guy made the right decision. It's just too bad he didn't divorce his bitch-ass wife earlier. And I bet you this family probably never liked him anyway. I honestly feel like I did what was best for my kids, but it feels like their mom's family is punishing them, and I feel like a terrible dad. I admit that I might have been more mature to address the issue head-on with my relationship with my ex, but I feel that was more important for just the two of us. Frankly, I feel like my lack of backbone years ago has made the divorce worse for my kids. But I also believe that if I had to do it again, I would still prioritize my kids over my own feelings and make the same choice. Am I the a-hole? No, dude. You saw that your kids were going through a tough time, your daughter especially. You knew you splitting up from their mother would cause her depression and problems to amplify greatly. So you stayed with her. And the fortunate thing is it's not like she was around very much and didn't want to talk to you anyway. And you had more time to make arrangements, get those trusts set up for the kids so she can't touch that money and go piss it away on fucking shoes, amongst other things. And guess what? Women plan things too. When women are ready to divorce their husbands for whatever reason, whether it's warranted or not, you don't think they're not doing plans? You don't think they're not meeting with lawyers? You don't think they're not lining up a replacement guy and plotting and scheming with their girlfriends to get the best deal? Of course they are. This guy did too. He tried to get her to counseling, all that. Nope. She didn't care. And now the other family's treating the kids like garbage? Fuck them. Now, he had some more info here before I wrap this up. He also says here, holy crap, this blew up. First, thanks to the folks who provide feedback and comments. I really felt like crap, and both the positive and negative comments helped me get a little perspective on things. I've seen a few comments come up multiple times, so I'll figure it's worth answering them before I move on. He says, number one, this is an account I created to ask an embarrassing dating question earlier this year. I created it because my main username is recognizable, and I reused it now because I don't want my issues associated with a known username. Okay, that's irrelevant. I shouldn't have read that. 2, when my wife took that job, we were doing fine financially, but the job still came with a big raise. I was making about $200,000, and the job she took for her raise went from about $80,000 to $140,000. Man, so they're pulling in together about $340,000 a year, give or take. That's good money. That was enough that we could go from saving enough to having an emergency fund to having enough to pay for our kids' college outright. We both work in technology, but she works for a defense contractor, and some of the work needs to be done on-site, and only one of the offices related to her work is near where we live. When we originally discussed the job, her plan was to work in the high-travel role for some time and then transfer to a lower-travel role based near us. In other words, she was going to do it for a little while when she got that raise, that promotion, but then wanted to scale back after a while. But obviously, she enjoyed being away from this guy for all sorts of reasons we can speculate. She got promoted a few times, and staying near her home wasn't an option unless she took a bit pay and title cut. So there you go. Her job and her money meant more. You guys were making plenty of money. You were more than fine, but she didn't care. When we divorced, I was making about $280 a year, and she made a little over $300,000. Good. That means hopefully alimony won't be as bad, or any. But of course, there's going to be some. Some folks were also confused by my stock comment. I'm a software engineer for a big tech company, and about 20-30% of my salary comes in the form of RSUs, restricted stock units. I'm not an investor by any means, and I was just selling off my stock mostly to cover my daughter's college and pay off what debt my son had. I'm assuming you're, as a kind, loving parent, paying his college loans, not a bunch of dumbass debt because he racked up his American Express or Capital One cards here. Let's not spoil the kids too much here. 3. I know a lot of people were jumping right into the affair, but I really doubt it. In school, my wife and I were the obvious kids, the obnoxious kids who reminded the teacher about homework, and she's a massive introvert. Okay, in other words, he claims she's a nerd. Her working late in a hotel room is much more likely than her sleeping around or keeping some family secret. There's a chance I'm wrong here, but I think it's more of a situation where Reddit sometimes thinks all divorces end with infidelity. Dude, I've been doing this too long, and I've lived too long, experienced too much to think that, yeah, guess what? Nerdy girls can attract dudes. Nerdy girls want some dick. Or who knows? Maybe she's into women. That'd be something he never even thought of. But something's going on. 4. When I say that we had an amicable divorce, I mean that more in a legal sense than the emotional sense. Aha. Uncontested might be a better term. The only significant asset we had that wasn't easily split was our home. My wife loves the house, and I frankly wanted something different. So she bought out my own portion of it. Our kids are adults, so there's no custody. Great. Our assets are mostly divisible, so no issues there. Our salaries are comparable, so there was no alimony. Yes. Look, this seems pretty damn good to me. We each had a car, and overall it was pretty straightforward to divide things evenly, and neither of us wanted to draw things out. Then what the fuck is the problem with her family? Right? It didn't seem like she was too unhappy to end the marriage, not that much. I mean, he did say earlier she wanted to work it out, but still, it's not like she's staying in the same home. She makes her good money, her job, you know? We didn't end the marriage as friends by any means, but from a legal standpoint, it was amicable because we decided on an arrangement with a mediator, and that only involved lawyers briefly to actually draft the final paperwork for the judge to sign on. If he's being accurate here, and I have reason to believe he is, this doesn't sound too horrible of a divorce. It's just maybe the family's super religious. I don't know, and they just were bothered by the whole thing. But who knows? And who knows what yarn she spun with the family? But regardless, okay. Your kids are adults now. They're seeing the ugly side of reality. They're seeing that her family, a bunch of douchebags. And he mentions also his family, but only his sister's on his side. Well, this is why he controlled the narrative. But no, he's not the a-hole. He picked and chose the time to do this because he was protecting his kids. He took the sacrifice to stand with her, even though she wasn't around very much, to help the kids out. And I get that, end of story. So no, he's not the villain here. But now I'm guessing he's probably in his mid-40s, maybe early 50s. He's got plenty of life to live. Get back to doing things you enjoy, hang out with people you like, hit the gym, lose some weight, buy a Mustang, have fun, and, and see where it goes. But don't get married again. And, your kids, spend great times with your kids, and there you go. You got plenty of life left. Have a good one.